What's up, everybody? On today's video, I want to talk about why I would never buy real estate unless I could buy it cash. If you don't have enough money to buy it cash, then you can't afford it. Mortgages, if you buy a house for $100,000, by the time you pay it off, you might pay off $200,000. You might pay off $300,000 in total with interest, depending on what type of interest rate you get. If you buy a $300,000 house, you might pay $600,000, $560,000. How am I, a poor person, going to give $260,000 over the course of my lifetime to a bank? That's a lot of money. You know how hard I have to work to save up $260,000 to then give it to a bank? If you can't buy real estate cash, you shouldn't own it. Like right now, it makes no sense for me to own real estate. Even though I love owning real estate, I've liked the idea of not having, not having those commitments of, okay, I own it, nobody's gonna come ask for rent. Just pay the property taxes and you're done. The reality is more complicated. When you own real estate, let's say when I bought the house in Alabama, I paid $6,000 in real estate fees when I bought the property. Now, I bought the property for $65,000. I sold it for $138,000. So I doubled my money in 1 year. I invested a lot into it as well. But in theory, I doubled my money in 1 year. I really didn't, but I'll explain that to you in a minute. When I bought the property, I paid $6,000 in real estate fees, and I had to move into it. When I sold the property, I paid $18,000 in real estate fees, and I had to move out. So that's like $23,000 right there between one thing and another, moving costs. And there's other costs that are related to move. Every time you move into a house, then you have to replace a washer or dryer, where if you stay stagnant somewhere, you're not replacing anything. If you're renting, you're not paying for those things. But when you're moving, you're going to buy the new appliance because you just bought a house. So that $23,000 with maintenance over a year. I put a roof on the house in Alabama. I put a fence in the house in Alabama. I did landscaping work. I had to mow the lawn. When you put all that into perspective, I didn't really double my money. And on paper, it looks like I doubled my money, but I really did it because you had to keep up that property. Now, when I'm renting, like I'm spending $12,000 or $14,000 a year on renting. Okay, that's a controlled fixed number. Maybe I'll have to make $3,000 in comfort expenses that you're gonna have because you want to be comfortable. So let's say I can cap it off at $15,000 a year. But if you're buying and moving, you're not sure what you want for life. You buy a property now. If it's a really long-term commitment, you know you got your family in one place, you're going to be in one place, you're not hopping all over the place. But if you're hopping all over the place like I am, it makes absolutely no sense for you to own real estate, because the cost of, you're going to do stuff to the house no matter what. You're going to paint, you're going to want to do something to make it customized to your needs. But at the end of the day, other than those voluntary expenses you're going to have on that property, you have a lot of other expenses that you're not going to be able to control. Real estate fee when you buy, real estate fees when you sell. At the end of the day, if I could buy a house, if I had $140,000 cash right now and I see a property that I want, I would totally snatch it up cash. Wouldn't finance it. The time you finance it, you also got to insure it. And here in the state of Florida, home insurance makes no sense. So I don't see me ever getting into a mortgage situation unless I really knew that I wanted to be in a place for a while. But it doesn't really make sense for me to own property unless I'm buying it cash. And I've bought properties cash. I've bought empty lots in Fort Myers. I bought a house in Naples cash. I bought a house in Alabama cash. But the difference between buying it cash and financing it is that you're not also on top of that paying almost the price of the property to a bank in interest. It doesn't make sense. So for me, homeownership is a luxury you take that if you were to free up that income, like all that money you spent, all that capital you put into one venture in real estate, that my property in Naples did not appreciate. Real estate appreciation in Naples happened like in the last 3 years. From like 2016, real estate in Naples hadn't appreciated. Like Naples real estate was flat. All of South Florida was flat from like 2016 to like 2020. Real estate prices were just totally flat in South Florida. I bought a house like in 2015, 2016. So for 4 years, my property had absolutely no appreciation. So that money that I put into the house was just sitting there stagnant, which if I had put it into business ventures like I'm doing now, which is traveling for my YouTube or equipment to work out of, let's say I had bought a dump trailer and a skid steer, I'd have doubled up, tripled up that money. So when you put all your money into real estate, it really complicates life infinitely, where now your projection of how much money you're going to need in the next 10 years could be $300,000. You could manage all your investments, all your equipment, all your maintenance, all your needs. Well, if you get into owning a property, now it's $1 million you got to come up with over the next whatever. So is it really easy to make money in real estate? Right now, if you have $400,000 cash, I would buy a house, and then I would rent it out, seasonal rent it, whatever, and that money that you make off that property is stacking up on top of the $400,000 you already had. But if you're financing that property, you're not stacking up on top of what you already have. You're just biting away at the interest you're going to have to pay the bank. And that's why right now, if I don't see myself getting into a mortgage for a $300,000 house. I see myself renting, saving up money, and if I buy a property, buying it cash. And I don't even know if I want to do that, because like I said, you can really free up that money and do a whole lot more with it. So that's why I'm not interested in buying real estate right now. Definitely not with a mortgage.